Joining me today, we have co-founders in the house. I have two guests, Ayanna Dutton-Diaz and Delaila Catalino. They are the co-founders of Non-Corporate Girls. So now you already know why I had to have them on the podcast, just from what their business is called. And we are going to be talking about the key to the right chemistry, co-founder chemistry for side hustle success. But before we get into the convo, I must give Ayanna and Delaila a moment to shine. Tell us more about yourselves, anything you'd like us to know. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and take it away.
Oh my God, yes. Well, I'm happy to start. So, hi everyone. My name is Ayanna Dutton-Diaz. I'm co-founder of Non-Corporate Girls. And for those of you who do not know, Non-Corporate is a lifestyle media platform really focused on professional and entrepreneurial wellness. I like to say I do that all the time, but my day job, 9 to 5, I'm a strategic marketing leader at LinkedIn, as well as a professional brand consultant. Literally, my world is helping people gather themselves, brand themselves, and merging those together and creating safe spaces for people of color, women of color. And so I'm really excited to be here today and participate in this conversation.
Yes, and thank you for having us, CJ. My name is Delaila. I am a content strategist. I work at Medtronic, and I'm also a social media digital marketer as well, helping small businesses and personalities show up on social media, helping them hone in on what their voice is and their messaging and how they show up on social media. And we like to also consider Non-Corporate Girls to be a digital diary of kind of our growth and hiccups and challenges as we navigate the space, helping to bring the resources to our audience.
Yeah. And nice segue, because you mentioned Non-Corporate Girls, and that was going to be, of course, my first question was like, how did you guys even meet to get to the point of being co-founders?
We love this question. I can start, Delilah jump in, but me and Delilah have been friends for over 10 years. Like, I don't even, at this point, we've lost track. We met during fashion. We are
Of
definitely,
course, yeah.
Delilah's been to all of my milestones, weddings, baby showers, I mean, everything. We met during Fashion Week. Like, literally, her and I both worked backstage during Fashion Week in New York. And we were the two people of color in a group. And you already know, like, when someone's doing a joke and you're like, that's not funny. And then you lock eyes with the person and they're like, that wasn't funny. And so me and her did that. And then we started laughing because clearly we knew that this wasn't funny. And so we ended up powwowing after that, became friends, realized we had a lot of mutual friends and we just were in each other's worlds, but never really met. And then from there, we kind of became what we like to call accountability partners. Over the years, maybe like 7 years, her and I she lived in different places too, but we still kind of kept each other accountable. She was my networking buddy. We was out in these streets. And so one day we were at a fashion event, fast forward from there, probably like 7 years since we met or whatever. And I didn't even want to go. And she was like, you're going to go, we're going to go. We go to this event. And then, someone asks you that dreaded question of, so what do you do? And me and her like, oh God, we do everything. We're like slashies. And then I made a joke. I'm like, we're like the Non-Corporate Girls, And someone was like, oh my God, never heard that, but me too. And then me and Delilah had this light bulb moment. And we're like, we should do something with that. I don't know what, but this is our lives. And then the next day we were both at our jobs that were toxic environments, talking on G-Chat. And we're kind of like, this has been in my mind. What can we do? And so literally we had a quick powwow on G-Chat, came up with some segments, a name, figured out a mission purpose. And then the next day we was in a random room recording on our iPhone. Like, here's our first episode. Let's go.
I love that you jumped right on to claiming Non-Corporate Girls before somebody else did. You know what I mean?
We sure did, because everybody had the same response to it. So we was like, we're onto something. You know how people say it's like love at first sight? Well, me and Ayanna was like friendship at first sight.
Oh man. Girl. Okay, so it happened organically, essentially. It wasn't even like something where as your friendship progressed, you realized that you were gonna eventually one day do something, or do you always feel like we got good chemistry here? It's gonna end up happening, or it's just, and then you had that light bulb moment when it came up when that Non-Corporate Girls feedback came up.
CJ, non-corporate girls was one of like the dozen ideas me and Ayanna
Okay.
had to bring something to fruition. And we would start something, and it's not necessarily that we wouldn't finish, but I think we were realistic and like, no, this isn't gonna work. Let's look for some what else? What else? And like this is what landed, and we stuck with it because it naturally progressed and it felt good, it felt easy, and we loved it. So this is why we've been like nurturing it since.
And I'll
Okay.
also add that when me and her first met, Delilah, like we both had our own freelance stuff, like you side hustle. We had a ton of side hustles. And Delilah also was business partners with someone else for another thing. Like she was doing other things. And so I remember
Mhm.
when we were even thinking about just having our ideas, it would always kind of be tiptoeing around like, did you want to have another co-founder for something else? Because
Yeah.
her experience was a little interesting with her other person. And then, it was like a
I'm glad
little
you
weird.
remember that.
Oh, I remember because I remember I was like, you was not feeling that situation. I was like, okay, so it gets a little
It was
interesting.
bad.
But I think that the thing that really cemented us a lot was the friendship. And I think that just over the
Mm.
years, just both of us seeing each other's grind because people talk about it, but they're not about it. We're about it. And so when we see
Right.
each
Right.
other's grind, we were kind of like, I already know how you operate and who you are and what I'm getting into. It just worked better.
It's
Yeah.
so true. You
Yeah.
put it like that. It's so true.
Yeah,
I remember.
the foundation of friendship. And you know what? I love that you were able to use a friendship as a foundation and it blossomed into something else because I mean, I know from my experience, I know we were talking about before we started recording, I did try to start things with friends, but it just turned out we were better as friends because I was always very much of that entrepreneurial mindset where, they wanted to do this have as a hobby. And I'm like, well, we could do this and we could do this. And when we do this and we can have a business plan, they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And eventually we kind of
Yes.
ended up going in different directions. So at least for you, it's a story was a little bit different, and you had that chemistry from the jump. Okay, I have asked a question about it. So I love your chemistry. That's what we're talking about today. But what
Yes.
about like when you have like a difference of opinions or when one wants to do something and the other one's not quite on board? Like how do you work through like navigating that if it does happen? Maybe it doesn't happen, but I mean it's
What?
business, so it probably does, right? I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt, but let's keep it real. But how do you navigate?
Do you want to
I
start?
see this like, yeah, because there's like, I think me and Ayana are outliers. Because to be honest, at this point, I don't know what has conspired in the universe, but we kind of finish each other's thoughts and sentences and
Okay.
ideas. Where I think the growth happens is because I think I'm the chaotic one. And so she grounds me. It's never that she disagrees, but she reels me in. And
Mm,
I allow her to because I trust her judgment. But there's not very much disagreements. It's more like, let's get in order because Ayana is so organized in so many ways. Whereas, like, I need to get a little bit more confined because
mm.
just my personality is very much the way my ideas are expressed.
Right, right, right.
So we have that understanding of each other. So it works.
Okay, okay.
But and I'll say, it took time to get there, right? I think that in the beginning, even to go back to your point, right, CJ, like we were friends. And so then you're pivoting to like, we have a business. But, to see me and to come live with me are two different things. And so
Yes.
to have someone now as a business partner and two people who don't know anything about running a business, right? Like to this nature, like we've had our things, but this was like a first official business.
Right, right, right.
There's a lot of things to figure out and organize and solidify. And it's a lot of pressure. And so and again, you have two people who don't know. And so we're like, it's like the blind leading the blind, and we're trying to figure it out as we go. And so we're also trying to
Right.
learn our strengths and weaknesses at the same time within as well. And your strengths and weaknesses translate, but they translate differently in a business. And so I think we did a lot of navigating on that. And we've had, to the lightest point, not necessarily disagreements, but I think whenever we see a difference of opinion, it's like we have to take the time to be like, let's talk about this. What is the
Mhm.
community like? What are we saying? Because it's happened. It's definitely happened, and it's not even like one is wrong or the other is wrong. It's more like there's different approaches to how we do
Right.
it and which approach is going to work in this time. And going back to what Delilah said, we do think a little bit differently in that sense. And so sometimes you do need to like, you need to be petty. Sometimes you got to show up in that way and you need to do certain things. And maybe she's just more apt at doing that than I am. And sometimes you need to be politically correct and you need to like put on your Olivia Pope. And then I may be a little bit better than she is. So we just kind of, we see what the situation entails and we go from there. And whoever, whatever that looks like, that person leads it. It's kind of how
Yeah. So you've kind of feed
Yeah.
off each other. It's almost like when it's not going to work or when it's going to work, but you just have to kind of work through it
yes.
essentially to get to that point. Okay.
Exactly. Because the other thing is about respect. And we both respect each other's opinions very much. And we respect each other as people. And so your feelings are valid, even though they may be chaotic, they may not be the right moment in this time, they're still valid. And so we have to do ourselves the service of making sure that we hear each other. And so we talk like that. I hear you.
Oh, yeah. Right,
But
right.
so
I
I
love that
think
she's laughing.
we have a lot of, because this CJ, this is 6-7 years of this, like as
Yeah.
business partners, so like I think we have a level of respect and trust, and I think that's to your point of how we move through it. It is chaotic in the beginning whenever the issue comes up, but we navigate through it.
Okay. Because that was one of the things you're most curious about, and then I'm sure people are most curious about is you have a co-founder, which means it's two people, two or more people, which would mean a difference of opinions or having different ideas, or this one wants like your idea is great, but I think we should do mine first, or how long should we work on this thing, or how long should we wait, and just being able to respect and like communicate and be able to, well, that's when you plan and really strategize and feed off each other's personalities and how you and complement each other essentially. So okay, on the flip side of that, so what would you think? From what you've observed, just from you being a successful unit, the two of you as co-founders, have you observed other co-founder units that didn't quite work out, and you observed, okay, here's what you should look for, red flags, essentially, what people should look for if they're trying to decide to go the co-founder route with a business idea?
I think it's just having an open understanding, because again, some people go into it with the idea of like, that's my friend, so they can be a business. I think being really honest with what people bring to the table, what the strengths are and what the weaknesses are, and being really honest about those has it pertains to the goal and what you're trying to do in the business. I think when you're open about that, then you can really decide, is this a fit for us? Because if your friends, what her strengths and weaknesses are not necessarily conductors to driving the business, then I can already foresee where conflict can happen. So I think the assessment prior to stepping into something is going to be very valuable.
Okay.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I echo that. And also, I would say open communication. Like, I really feel like I feel like a lot of issues that people have in the world is that they don't have open communication. But when you think about a relationship, especially a business relationship, that is really key, because the hard conversations have to happen. You know what I mean? They're gonna happen. Like, we're not making money. What do we do? You know what I mean? There's hard conversations that have to happen. And so you can't be afraid to have those conversations. You have to lean into it. And if you have an open dialogue and communication, it just makes things so much easier, because like Delilah said, we're already on the same page. We're already literally everything I think she also thinks. We may just think about it at a different time.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's having that open communication flow. And I think that when a lot of people are not clear about how to have the hard conversations, keeping that open dialogue, they don't say things they mean, which is never good, right? And then also you're not being honest about yourself, the business, how you both are showing up, and it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
I don't know if much people speak about it, but it definitely was my experience in our founder relationship, is that you have to bring your whole self to the situation. I took a leave of absence from the business at a certain point because I was just going through a lot of personal stuff and burnout, X, Y, and Z. And sometimes you want to hide that part away from the business, but that directly impacts the business. So I feel like in the showing up fully, you also have to share your downfalls, however they may come, and seek the support of your co-founder, because the business still has to move forward.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. And I love that you touch on that because we feel like, we're running a business, we got to show up for the business, but there's a human behind the business, and you are your business, you are your brand. So if you can't be your true self or true to yourself, the business isn't really gonna flourish the way you wanted it
We
to,
say it
right?
all the time. If you are not good to yourself, you cannot be good for this business. And so we
Right.
literally, it's not, I don't even want to say it's a key word. I mean, like a safe word, but somehow that be the word where it's like, I'm not good. I'm not good.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? Because again, if you are not putting into yourself, the business, and it shows, and we've been there where it suffers. And so
Yeah.
it's really one of those things, again, going back to that check-in where we have to check it because we don't want if we're serious about this and this is a business, we don't want it to suffer in that way.
Yeah. And being serious about it in the business, when you plan for it, are you planning, do you see like 5 years from now, 10 years? Because you've already been doing it 6 or 7, you said, right? Did you know going in like 7 years later, you'd still be, you're already shaking. And
First
then
of
when you
all,
plan,
we thought when we first started this, going back to what you said something earlier, CJ, when we started this, honestly, we thought it was a hobby. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, we
yeah,
thought
yeah,
it was
yeah.
just a side thing. We were super frustrated with our jobs and toxic environments, and we had a mission to come to talk about. And so that's why we started. We actually didn't realize it was a business until someone we met in our lives who wasn't a great situation for us. But the blessing in that was she actually like made us realize how much of a business this could be. And so everything is a blessing lesson, all that things. And so even though things didn't work out with this person, we were like, oh, we really need to like double down on this some more. And that's
Mm.
really how this kind of took off. And to the longevity piece, I mean, I think every year we're like, oh, are we making it? Is this going to be
Okay.
the next year that we're pushing forward? And it's like we keep doing it because it is a passion. And I think that I know people hate the word pivot, but we pivot so often in our
Yeah.
business to try to make sure that we're like meeting our community where they're at, meeting ourselves where we're at. And I
Yeah.
think because we do all that and have the passion and have the unit, the longevity is just going to happen. So I don't know. I don't think we sit and think about 5-10 years from now necessarily, but we do think like we know that this is a thing, and we know that we want to keep this thriving. And so we just continue to figure out how we can do that.
So with that, and thinking, and you didn't really think about the longevity, but every year you kind of check in. Are we doing this? What do you have? What's going on for NCG, non corporate girls? What do you have coming up? Should people be looking out for something from you? What's on the
Well,
forecast?
Delilah, let me know if I missed anything. We just launched
Ooh.
our consulting arm of the business. And so, because people reach out to us all the time about how to start a podcast, how to do what we do, etc. So we started that. We're going to like amplify that even more throughout the rest of the year. So look into NCG Consult. We just started a series called the Art of Series, and we're really excited about it. We're going to have our first one August 22nd. And so I'll definitely drop the link to that. But it's basically like each time we do it, it's kind of going to be like our version of a masterclass of something. And so the first
Okay.
one is going to be the art of networking and kind of like bringing on 3 different strategic people in like an intimate setting to kind of really discuss those strategies. What does that look like, et cetera. And we'll have different ones throughout. We hope to amplify that because we know that that's going to be, we're literally, like Delilah said, digital diary on the pod. And we literally give tips and tools and advice. So we want to bring that to the forefront. And then I think the last thing is just around branded content and sponsorships. We really are trying to amplify that for this, I guess, this fiscal year, this calendar year as well. Oh, and we have the hub, which I'm really excited about. We just launched as well. The hub is kind of like a network place to bring the 9 to 5 and the 5 to 9 together. And so, CJ, you should actually add yourself to that
Ooh.
too. We really want to get
Yes,
all
but
these professionals into a place where we can launch like an annual resource hub to really help professionals, the 9 to 5ers, 5 to 9ers connect and figure out the resources that they may be lacking, whether that's an accountant, a coach, etc. Did I
It's
miss
the
anything?
expert network.
Okay, okay. And that's all gonna start as of, or that's just series, the art of series starts August 22nd, but
The
everything is
art
already,
series is August 22nd. Everything else is starting already.
okay, okay. And everything will be linked. And of course, people need to
Yes.
join mailing lists and follow along. And of course, I'm already on your
Yeah.
mailing list, but it sounds like I need to be a part of the hubs, and I'll definitely check that out. Okay, before I absolutely positively let you go, I can't believe how the time flies by when I'm just like
I
really
know.
enjoying it. But do you each, I usually have one guest, but now I'm doubling up. Do you have a nugget to share with the audience today before we wrap up?
Yes, mine that comes immediately type to mind is two of them. So one is do it scared. You're never going to
Okay.
have all of the things you need. You're never going to be so prepared. You're always going to feel unprepared, but do it anyways. It's better for forward progress than like no movement at all. And then the other one is don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. Sometimes we're waiting to be told when to take that next move or when to take a leap and about everybody else except yourself. Just go forward, do it. And if you have to ask for forgiveness later, um, it's possible to do that rather than like holding back and missing out on the opportunity.
Okay. Ayana, how about you?
Love
That was
that.
lovely. Thank you, Delilah. Yeah.
I would say my biggest one is show up authentically and unapologetically in any space that you're in. Because honestly, when you do so, you give others the permission to do the same. And think about what a culture in the world would look like if everyone just showed up the way that they are. And so I
Mm,
just want to encourage you to do that because, especially on the pod, we've really embraced who we are as people and
yeah.
as
Yeah.
humans. And it's just so important for us to go out there and be unapologetically ourselves. And so that's what I would
Yeah.
say.
Aw, thank you so much for sharing your energy with me today. This was great. I knew it was going to be good, and I actually just wanted to kind of experience your chemistry because Ayana, when we first talked, you were telling me about Delilah and what you the two of you. I'm like, and just come on the podcast, please and thanks. So I
Yes.
appreciate you being
So
here with
wait,
me
tell
today.
us now that you've experienced it, what do you think?
I can see why you work. I can see why you work. I can see why, like, when you say you like finishing each other's thoughts and sentences, and the of course, definitely the vibe is there. But there, and I'm not
Mhm.
just saying this because we're recording and we're on camera, but there's something that I can see why it works and why a lot of it is very organic, and it happens, it unfolds, and it just absolutely works. And I'm rooting for you. I'm cheering you on always. I'm so happy you're doing this. I'm so happy we're connected. And thank you so much
Like,
for being here with me today. And this is the beginning of another great collaboration. Who knows, right?
Oh,
So
yes, more to come. Thank you so much for having us, CJ. This was so much fun.
and I was gonna say we're virtual, but I don't know if people tuning in and watching notice. But even through this virtual lens, me and Ayana have been locked in. Like I don't think you
yes.
guys understood. We took a pause. She waited for me. We made eye contact to who to answer first. Like it just happened so naturally. But I'm very keen to it. So we're taking
Yeah.
cues from each other at all times.
Yeah. Oh, I picked up on that, girl. I absolutely, it's just like I'll ask the question. I'm like, okay, one of them's gonna do a little thing, and then the other one's gonna go. And
You are a
Yes.
hoot, CJ. Oh my God. I just want to put it just now on the record that when we do get off hiatus, you definitely have to be a guest on the pod.
oh, absolutely. I need a little bit more of this. This energy is your vibe is absolutely. I love it.
Thank
I love being
you.
able to share some time with you today. Okay. Thank you very much, Lee, Ed, for today, and I will connect with you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.